let's continue fixing the flow of our animation. So, continuing, what we'll need to do is select the right thoracic limb. The control for that, go back to our graph editor and go to the Rotate X. Alright, so to start off, let's go ahead and select the key for our first and last frames. With them selected, we'll just hold Shift, the middle mouse button, click and drag down. We're fixing the flow here of them as well. We'll select the right halves and focus on one side since both will move, and middle mouse button, click and drag up. And notice we get a better flow from our infinite to our absolute curve here. Great, so once that's now been done, we can go ahead and move on. Going now to our the area where the foot is about to plant. Okay, and let's go ahead and see what we can delete here or clean up. Let's say if we delete the keys from frames 5 and 6, because it doesn't really look like we need them. Let's go ahead and select them and get rid of them. There we go. Then if anything, what we could do is go ahead and fix their flow by selecting the right half of the key on frame 7, middle mouse button, click and drag down so we can move the left half up a little bit more. Excellent. Better fluidity. Let's even see if we need this key on frame 8. Let's go ahead and delete that. And notice we don't really need it. And notice also the F curve is still maintaining the position that it once had, where the key once was. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, we still keep that pose. Great, so we're just about done. What we need to do is select the key on frame 11 and delete that too. Okay, because we didn't need it. The foot's planted there. Great. And another important thing to keep in mind about this pose on frame 11 is that the legs should be a little bit straighter. And what we could do is adjust our center of gravity control, just bringing that up a little bit to fix the pose here, so that won't be a problem. But now that we have that cleaned up, we can now move on to our next animated attribute. That's going to be the fetlock. And notice there's nothing to change here. That's actually fine. And also our hoof control. Let's go ahead and check that out. We'll hit F. And notice that's also fine too. Great. So from there, now that we have that adjusted, what we can do is move on to our front muscle. So we'll go ahead and select the right front muscle, go to our Y, frame it up, and begin. Okay, so for here, we're going to want a nice flow, some nice fluidity. What we can do is select the keys from frames 1 and also frame 13. And let's see, let's work on bringing them down a little bit more, not too much. Again, we're not going to want too much of a flow. We want the correct flow, but we don't want anything looking watery in our animation, just correct. Okay, so now that we brought them down a little bit more, we can select their right halves, focus on one side, and bring up their tangency to get a better flow. Now, if it's difficult to see an F curve at times, like for example the Y, we do have the option of changing our curve color if we want to. That involves selecting our curve. With it selected, we can go up to Edit, Change Curve Color. Then we'll go to the option box. Notice we can change the, we can darken or lighten the green, okay, that the Y is, or we could change it altogether by selecting the color swap and getting to our options. But I'd just like to make it a darker green, so I'll just hit Cancel, make the green a little bit darker, and then hit Color. Now notice the color has been changed, and it looks better. Okay, now we can see it a little bit clearer. Okay, and this helps for when we wanted to just see the infinite curve as well to see how it's flowing. This also helps to make sure that our F curve is flowing nicely. Notice we're getting this nice wave look, so that's fine. Great, so from there, let's go to our rotation X. Okay, and also we'll make a few adjustments here. We'll select our keys, and middle mouse button, click and drag up just a little bit, and select their right halves, again focusing on one side, and middle mouse button, click and drag down. Great, so we're getting a nice flow. Excellent, so what we should notice now, if we go ahead and just hide our curves, get a nice view, and do a play blast, we can see how the flow of our right thoracic limb is looking. Here it is. Wow, that's looking much better than it did before, prior to making those changes. Excellent. We're getting some a nice flow now out of that leg. Well, now that that leg is pretty much wrapped up, what we can do is work on the left thoracic limb, and we're going to start working on that in the next lesson.